Hey guys, this is Warhawk Beyond 2040 and welcome to another edition of the Batwoman Season 1 review series, and today I am going to be talking about episode 18, If You Believe in Me, I'll Believe in You. And before I get into talking about the 18th episode, I just wanted to quickly talk about something that was mentioned at the end of episode 17, and that was, at the end of that episode, Luke Fox mentioned that the reason why the Joker hasn't reared his ugly head in the last 7 years is because Batman killed him, which is one of the main reasons why he disappeared. Now, this kind of confuses me a little bit. Why would Bruce Wayne kill the Joker and then just disappear? It just doesn't make any sense. Why would Bruce leave Gotham and not be there to protect everyone? I mean, surely with the Joker gone, that would want you to stick around more because there are still other villains running around causing trouble. It just never made sense to me, and not just that, the Batman I know would never turn his back on Gotham. I know he did in Batman Beyond, but that was because he was much older, but here it just never really made any sense to me to just up and go like that without a word. It just never made any sense. And what about some of the other heroes like Robin or Nightwing or Batgirl? Are they not around in the Arrowverse to protect Gotham? It just never made any sense to me why Bruce would just disappear the way he did. And here's another example. In Crisis on Infinite Earths Part 2, now as we all know, Kate and Kara went to another Earth where they met Bruce Wayne, who was much older and walking around in Wayne Manor in this exoskeleton mech suit due to all the injuries he sustained as Batman over the course of a long crime-fighting career. And Kara saw in one of Bruce's trophy cases a bloodied Joker card, which obviously belonged to the Joker. And I remember mentioning at one of the Crisis review videos I did for Part 2 that if Bruce Wayne indeed did kill the Joker on his Earth, you have to believe he was definitely the first casualty. Now, obviously, different Earths have different events, and obviously with all of the Earths fused together to create Earth Prime, this kind of confused me because wouldn't Bruce Wayne killing the Joker be something that happened much later on in his career? I don't know. I mean, it depends on what version you read of Batman, but I was always under the impression that he would only kill the Joker if he was much older. But it just seemed a bit silly just to throw something like that out there. But hopefully that will be something that will be addressed more in maybe a future episode or maybe in a future season, but we'll just have to wait and see. But I just thought I'd get that out there before we crack on with things, but it did kind of confuse me just a little bit. Anyway, episode 18, I thought this was pretty good. I thought this was a pretty decent episode and kind of builds up for a villain who's going to be making his debut very, very soon officially, which I won't spoil for all of you. That will be probably in a future episode, which I'll be doing a review on. So we got to see Mary Kane have a bigger role in this episode, probably the biggest role she's had in this season so far. I mean, we've seen her helping Batwoman out and with her injuries and other people, so we actually got to see her on the field, not literally in costume duking it out, but we got to see her play a big part, and this was really showcased very well, and I quite enjoyed this episode. There is a highlight in this episode for me that I quite enjoyed, which I'll mention momentarily. So anyway, let's get right into it. Let's talk about episode 18, If You Believe in Me, I'll Believe in You. So we kick off this episode where we see Batwoman is stopping an organ smuggler, but during the fight she almost gets her wig pulled off. Okay. See, I always thought that Kate's wig was glued to the mask. I never realised it was two separate things, but maybe you should glue it to the cowl, but what do I know. Anyway, as she returns to Wayne Enterprises with Luke, Mary is there and arrives and congratulates them, but Kate immediately shuts her out. Now, Kate obviously isn't comfortable with the idea of Mary wanting a bigger role on the team. She wants to keep her safe, which is understandable. But there is something that happens at the end that kind of changes her mind, which I'll get into. So Kate decides to instead focus on Lucius Fox's journal. Meanwhile, we see Sophie and Julia Pennyworth also look for Lucius' journal in Thomas Elliott's storage, but find nothing. Kate decides to visit Tommy Elliot in prison, where he admits to being jealous of Lucius Fox's relationship with Bruce Wayne. Alice and Mouse then visit Tommy in his cell, where they agree to help him stay within Arkham. She also asks about Lucius' journal, which Tommy believes has a failsafe to kill Batman, who Tommy knows is Bruce. Alice then reveals that she and Mouse can help change his face into anyone he wants. Yep, anybody who's read the graphic novels or has played the Arkham games, you know where this is going. Kate and Luke track a call that Tommy made to one of the buildings he owns, where a mobster confirms he has Lucius Fox's journal. Kate decides that they need to go undercover to the club to find it. Mary helps Kate pick out some outfits for the club, but Kate refuses to let her come along. Kate and Julia go to the club, and Kate is slightly jealous of the time that Julia and Sophie have been spending time together. Kate's ex, Reagan, is a bartender at the club, and she compliments her on her real estate ventures. Kate apologises for the way their relationship fell apart. Julia and Luke, who are on the comms, try to find the mobster's office while Kate sneaks into the club floor in the Batwoman suit. Julia is quickly found by security, and Kate finds her way to the journal, which she grabs, only for it to set off a series of traps. The mobster decides to auction off Batwoman to the highest bidder. Mary and Luke panic over what to do to help Kate, and Luke reluctantly agrees to let Mary go undercover. And I've got to tell you this, Nicole Kang looked absolutely... woo! She looks smoking hot. I mean, she's very attractive anyway, but she looked... wow, she looked really, really good. She had like these high heel boots on, which I'm a big sucker for, of course, and she just looked very, very nice. Anyway, that was my highlight for this episode. But we move on. Alice puts Tommy's face onto another prisoner in Arkham and makes it look like he committed suicide in a cell. Meanwhile, the real Tommy Elliot gets his face bandaged up until his new face is ready. Yeah, you can see where this is going. Tommy calls up the mobster who betrays him, and Alice reveals her backup plan to unleash Magpie to steal the journal. Jacob visits Alice in prison and asks about what happened with Tommy. Alice begins to cry about how she's being treated in Arkham, but he refuses to help bail her out. She then says that the torture she's been enduring has given her clarity and that she's going to get revenge on him when she's out. Mary tries to bid on Batwoman, or at least her suit, during the auction. One of the men from the organ smuggling ring prepares to kill Kate, but Mary intervenes and helps her fight her way out. You go, Mary. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Julia also escapes. Batwoman makes her way to the roof and fights Magpie for the journal. Kate and Mary leave the club, and Kate apologises for doubting Mary and agrees to let her join the Bat team. Finally! About bloody time! Reagan then comes up to Kate and tells her that she and Batwoman were working together on a case. Kate invites her to her place, and they hook up. Nice. Luke takes Mary down into the Batcave, and she immediately tries to take a picture of it. Right. One thing I want to mention here. I don't like the idea of anybody can come into the Batcave. My Batman, or the Batman we all know and love, would never let anybody come into the Batcave. Only a select, trusted few. And that's one of my issues I had with Season 1, is just that anyone can come into the Batcave. And I don't like that. The Batcave should be kept a secret, and it should only be for a select few trusted associates. That's one of the main reasons why Batman is Batman, because he keeps it very, very private. And you know, I respect the fact that they want to build the team up a bit, but you don't just casually just say, hey, this is the Batcave. I'm sorry, just not a fan of that. Anyway, Luke makes Mary swear not to tell anybody about the Batcave, which he then accidentally reveals Bruce Wayne was Batman. Oh boy. I know for a fact if Bruce Wayne learned that one of his most trusted associates, or just anyone he knows in general, revealed his secret identity, he would go absolutely mental. I know that for a fact, and I just don't like the way they say, hey, by the way, Bruce Wayne's Batman. That's one of my biggest issues they've had in the Arrowverse, is that they just casually throw it out there and say, yeah, Bruce Wayne's Batman. It should be kept separate. It should be kept a secret. So when it is revealed, it's like, really? Bruce Wayne's Batman? Okay. That's one of the things I liked about the Justice League animated series. When Bruce finally revealed his true identity, nobody could get their head round it. There was like, okay. There's a couple of things I didn't like with the way they handled Bruce Wayne in the Arrowverse, but that's just me. So then we see Kate wakes up the next morning and Reagan is gone, and the journal along with it. Yeah, this is why you should be careful when you leave your stuff laying around. Kate tells Luke and Julia about this. Reagan meets up with Magpie, who has been helping her out with her crimes for a while because she's her sister. Reagan decides that she wants out of that game and leaves. Julia gets a call from an unknown person who wants the journal. We then see Alice help remove a tracker from Magpie's neck, and she leaves Arkham Asylum. Mouse reads through the book, which is revealed to have a secret code, and that's how this episode pretty much ends. Overall, a pretty decent episode. However, there were a couple of little things I didn't like, especially the way the whole Bruce Wayne secret identity thing was handled, as well as the secret of the location of the Batcave. A couple little things that I didn't like there, but overall I enjoyed this episode, and the shining star of this episode for me was Nicole Kang's portrayal as Mary, and Rachel Scarsden, as always, did what she did best, and she kicked a lot of ass as Alice. But I thought Mary was awesome in this episode, and I'm really glad that she's got a much bigger part in the show, and who knows, maybe we might see her get her own costume, maybe season 2 or season 3, depending on what happens. But yeah, I really enjoyed this episode a lot, and I'm really glad we got to see Mary actually help Kate out in a big way, and hopefully this leads to something bigger and better. So I'm going to wrap this up now, and I'm going to drop this here for you guys. What did you think of episode 18? Did you enjoy it? Do you think Mary will be a bigger asset to Kate in the long run? What's your thoughts about Bruce Wayne possibly killing the Joker that was mentioned at the end of episode 17? You know what to do, guys. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave your thoughts and comments down below, and I will be back next time to talk about episode 19 on the next edition of the season 1 review series, and we're 2 episodes away from almost wrapping up this series, and it's been a very interesting but up and down road, to say the very least, but that's for another video for another time. So till next time, take care everybody and stay safe.